Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening or watching the Football Betting Podcast with me, Tom Pipkin, and my co-host, Tom Walker. We've got another exciting show for you this week. We're going to go through the Premier League, Championship, League Two, and League One. Best bets for the weekend and wrap them all up in a nice little treble at the end. We are sponsored by Team Matchbook. You can get a £30 money back as a free bet if you use the code TFB Podcast upon signing up to Matchbook. And as well, if you fancy your horse racing as well as your football, Matchbook have got a lot of content on the Cheltenham Festival as well, on YouTube, on their podcast. Lots of anti-post stuff going up on the website as well. So do check that out if you like your racing. Tom, how are you this weekend, mate?
Yeah, doing well. Doing well. Skinny docket for sure this weekend coming up, but we'll make do with what we've got. There's still some gems of quality in there, and then last week's treble. We'll cover it in more depth, but agonisingly fell by just the one leg. So I'm ready to get stuck in, mate, with the return of Newcastle in Premier League action.
Yeah, so all the odds we're going to read out on the show today are taken from matchbook.com, and we're going to go through each of the Premier League games one by one, then pick out our best bets from the EFL. So, as you say, Tom, Newcastle away at Manchester City to get us kicked off on Saturday at 12:30. 1.47 for City, 5.1 for the draw, and 7.8 for Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle lost in the Carabao Cup final to Manchester United 2-0 last weekend. So do you expect them to be a bit down and out for this one against Man City? Because it's certainly a very tough reintroduction for them back into the Premier League after the heartbreak they suffered last weekend.
Yeah, a bit down and out, but also let's just kind of have a look at their form over the last 8 games. They've got a worse record than Nottingham Forest over the last 8 games, just 11 points from 8 games. This isn't where you want to go, is it? City, best home record in the league. City will win this, I think, comfortably. I think Newcastle are regressing a little bit, but there's no shame in that. If they can still snag a European spot, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree. City for me too at 1.47. Moving on to the next game then. It starts off with Arsenal against Bournemouth. Short price here for Arsenal, as you'd expect, at 1.25, 7.2 for the draw, and 15.5 for Bournemouth. I think, obviously, I think Arsenal will win. I think they'll win fairly comfortably. We've seen them beat Everton 4-0 in midweek. We're recording on Wednesday night. They've just beaten Everton 4-0 prior to recording. So done us Forest fans a favour there, getting a hammering on Everton before we play them at the weekend. But I think they'll win fairly routinely here. Bournemouth, again, struggling still away from home. They did win a fortnight ago away at Wolves, but prior to that, they have only won 2 of their 12 games this season away in the Premier League. I think if you're going to get anything from this game, you've probably got to look into what handicap markets probably. So Arsenal minus 1 or -2 on the handicap. Just looking at that now on Matchbook, Arsenal -2 is 1.73. So you've got to go along a fair way to get some value out of this game.
Yeah, Bournemouth have scored just 1 in their last 6 games on the road, which you just alluded to. Last weekend, I tipped out Man City to win and both teams to score when they were away at Bournemouth. And I'm going to kind of do the same, but flip it on its head and say Arsenal to win and no. So that's Arsenal to win with a clean sheet. It's priced at 1.95. I mean, that is skinny, but I think it will come in.
Yep, I like it. On to the next game anyway. Aston Villa against Palace. 2.14 for Villa, 3.45 for the draw, and 4.1 for Palace. Got to say, Tom, usually well on it with your social media clips from the previous pod, but I thought you might have chucked one out there of my Liverpool Palace draw tip at about 4.0 or whatever it was.
Yeah, confession time. For work, I had to go to a conference that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I was back in work on Monday. And the days were about 12 hours long each, with 5 hour drives. So didn't have the time this week, mate. But here's your moment. You can let all the viewers and listeners know that you called that last week.
No, it's fine. Absolutely fine. I'm only messing. Yeah, so tough game to call here. 2.1. Did I read the prices already?
No.
2.14 for Villa, the home side, 3.45 for the draw, and 4.1 for Crystal Palace away. Look, this is a Palace side who haven't won in 9 consecutive games now. Not scoring many goals. They've only scored 3 goals in the last 5 league games. And Villa, I don't really know what I'm going to get from Villa from one week to the next. They concede a lot of goals. We spoke about that quite a lot in recent weeks on the pod, but again, they are capable of scoring. And Ollie Watkins, in particular, is in really good goal scoring form. Um, if you put a gun to my head and said pick a team, I'd probably back Villa at 2.14, but it is by far from the strongest thing that I'm going to chuck out on the show this weekend.
Do you know what? I'm a bit more okay with it. I'm a bit more hot on Villa.
Yeah.
Palace are in a relegation battle. Absolutely, make no mistake about that. They're only 6 points clear of the drop zone. No wins in 9, as you said, not scoring. In the last 4 games, Villa have scored at least 3 times, and
Mm.
the one time that they only scored one was at the Etihad against Man City, which I think we can kind of let them off. So yeah, I think Villa have got enough firepower, and Palace just can't answer to it. They've got the joint worst record over the last 8 games, just those 5 points in those 8. So no, mate, I'm a bit more bullish on Villa, and above evens too.
The only,
It's
yeah,
quite
the only thing,
enticing.
uh, yeah, the only thing that's kind of holding me back is Palace seems just to be a sticky team, if you like, in the fact that they're just grinding out draws.
Yeah, yeah,
That
totally.
the draws against Liverpool, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Manchester United. That's 5 draws in their last 6 games, and they've drawn against some decent teams in that run. So yeah, whilst they're not winning, it looks like they're a tough team in a way to play against and to break down maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Villa is the one we both go for, but
Hmm.
yeah, not a strong one for me. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Into the next game anyway. Brighton against West Ham. 1.85 for Brighton. 3.9 for the draw and 4.7 for West Ham to get the victory. This is one of those games where I feel like you do a bit of research and you find surprising statistics, at least in terms of the head to head for me. Brighton haven't lost in 11 consecutive games against West Ham. West Ham haven't kept a clean sheet in 11 consecutive games against Brighton, so no nil-nils in that run for Brighton. You have to go all the way back to 2012 till the last time that West Ham beat Brighton. Um, I'm going to stick with the trend personally. Brighton to win 1.85. West Ham, whilst they got a good win last weekend against Forest were pretty hopeless and collapsed after the first goal went in. Away from home, West Ham have been very poor. No wins since September away from home. So yeah, poor away record. And even though Brighton aren't firing on all cylinders and not quite as hot as they were, I think they can get the job done this weekend and get back on track.
So Tom, in 18 games, there have been 2 occasions where they haven't scored. Obviously, one was when they recently lost to Fulham. Can you name the other one?
Against the mighty Reds.
Yeah. 0-0 against Forest, where they absolutely battered them as well. So that's 16 of 18 games they've managed to score, Brighton. And then West Ham, it's 6 of their last 7 that they've managed to notch a goal. The only time they didn't was a defeat the other week against Tottenham. I'm going to go for both teams to score at 1.89. Matchbook on the Matchbook Exchange on the Matchbook website, we've got 1.89 for yes and 1.99 for no. So it's a really tight market, but I can see both teams scoring for sure. It certainly helps that West Ham managed to get a goal at Old Trafford in midweek.
Yeah, strong both teams to score head-to-head stats as well. 7 of the last 8 games have been both teams to score between the two sides. So yeah, I do like that as well. Maybe combine them. Brighton to win and both teams to score.
Ooh.
Um, anyway, up next, Chelsea against Leeds. Interested to hear your thoughts on this one. We've got Chelsea at 1.69. Crikey, these Chelsea prices are far too short week in, week out, aren't they?
Yeah.
4.1 for the draw and 6.0 for Leeds. Leeds winning last weekend in the first game under new manager Javi Gracia. And Chelsea again um, didn't win. They lost 2-0 to Spurs. So, yeah, winless in 6 consecutive games now, Chelsea. Only 1 goal scored in those 6 games. What do you think to this one?
I don't really know. 2 words. Javi Gracia. Um, I just, whenever new managers come in and things change at clubs, I like to see how it pans out a little bit before I start putting my money against it. Um, Obviously, we've seen him win in the Premier League and we've seen him lose in the FA Cup. So I'm just not 100% sure what I'm going to get from him. I just know that Chelsea price is absolutely laughable.
Yeah, completely agree. Maybe an undershout. Obviously, Chelsea struggling to hit the back of the net, as we've mentioned. Under 2.5 is priced at 1.98. That might be something to go for. Under 3.5, 1.4. Yeah, I certainly can't see it being a goal fest. Okay, final 3 o'clock then to talk about is Wolves against Spurs. 3.5 for Wolves, 3.5 again for the draw, and 2.3 for Tottenham. I hope you've got some kind of idea as to what's going to happen in this game because I sure
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah. We're looking. I mean, obviously, looking at the game, the first thing that leapt out at me was the Tottenham kind of coin toss. Are they going to be on it or not? And then I looked at their last 3 away games where they've lost to 3 different teams in 3 different competitions, where they've lost to Sheffield United of the Championship just tonight as we record, AC Milan, who are having a pretty bad season in Serie A as defending champions, and then they lost 4-1 to Leicester, and Leicester are in a relegation battle. So yeah, not 100% sure what's going to happen. When there's Harry Kane, there's a chance, but they're clearly not on it away from home. And the kind of Wolves reliability that we saw when Lopetegui came in, it's cooled off ever so slightly, I would say.
Yeah. Just one thing that I had noticed in terms of a trend is that Wolves' last 8 consecutive home games, that's across all competitions, have not been both teams to score. So they've either lost to nil or won to nil. So both teams to score no to make it a 9th consecutive game is 1.98. But yeah, in terms of the result, I have not got a clue. Finally, then for Saturday, we've got Southampton against Leicester. Southampton are priced at 2.82. The draw is 3.45 and Leicester 2.74. Now, these are two sides who, again, we've just seen in midweek in the FA Cup, have had a torrid time of it. Southampton lost at home to League Two Grimsby 2-1. And Leicester lost at home 2-1 to Championship Blackburn. So, yeah, it's another one. Just
Okay, DJ Khaled. I was wondering if you were going to mention the 9-0. I think isn't it the? This is one for those who like their cliches, but isn't this the tradition where you have to mention 9-0 in this fixture?
it seems like that's
Yeah,
my bad. I should have done, shouldn't I?
yeah. That's a bit of an own goal from you, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, I just have no idea. I don't mean to be a fence sitter, but I'm still learning about who's even in charge at the minute. What's his name? Uh,
Fellas or something like that.
yeah. I'm still learning about him. Um, Leicester, I haven't trusted them all season. Yeah, avoid like the plague. Tell you what
Yeah,
though, the punters on Matchbook know what they want. 15 quid has been put on Southampton. 16 quid has been put on Leicester. And 469 quid has been put on the draw. So maybe they know something we don't.
Well, if you're not sure, go right down the middle, eh?
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I just think Leicester struggles so much with no James Maddison, don't they? I would
Yeah,
never back
yeah.
a Leicester side away from home, especially without James Maddison if he's injured again for this game.
Amen.
Right, moving into Sunday then, the biggest game of the weekend, Nottingham Forest against Everton, gets us kicked off at 2 o'clock on Sunday. 2.78 for Forest to get the win, 3.15 for the draw, and 3.0 for Everton. Yeah, I'm confident. I don't know if I should be after we lost 4-0 to West Ham last weekend, but the home form is key for us, isn't it? As we've said time and time again on the pod, um, unbeaten at home since September. We're on a fantastic run of form. Last home game, nabbed a point against Man City. Everton have just been beaten by Arsenal 4-0 in midweek, so that's not going to help them. They're another team much better at home under Dyche than they have been away from home. I think off the top of my head, they've lost every game they've played away from home so far, which has been 2 out of 2, I think.
2 out of 2, correct.
Yeah. So yeah, the City Ground's a tough place to go. It's a fantastic opportunity to get a win for Forest at home to a relegation rival and put 7 points between ourselves and Everton. I've seen a lot of people on Forest Twitter saying, "Oh, but Dyche has been in the stands for half the season, watching the team. He's going to know us inside and out." I don't buy that argument, to be honest. Every Premier League team's got analysts upon analysts, access to all the video footage of every match for every other team. So if you're in the stands or watching it on the TV, for me, it doesn't matter. Every game is going to be analysed to within an inch of its life by each team. So I don't think that's a factor for me. But yeah, I think Forest can get the win here. How about you?
No, I totally agree with your argument there. Also, if he was watching us 12 weeks ago, the amount of injuries we've had since then, it's a different team anyway. Um, I'm trying to think like a Fleetwood Town fan, like a Stoke City fan, like a Ipswich Town fan, not someone who has emotional connections to the club. I've seen Forest ride their luck and be on a slow decline, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
I'm going to really quickly analyse the last kind of 6 games or so. They beat Leicester 2-0 at home. That was the first warning sign for me. Leicester had a ton of chances at 0-0. Bournemouth away, completely not at the races first half. Forest, of course, have the worst home record in the top 4 divisions in England. Beaten by Man U at home in the Carabao Cup, didn't really lay a glove on them, did okay. Completely passive in a 2-0 away defeat to Man U in the semi-final. A 1-0 win against Leeds, a wonder goal from Brennan Johnson, and some really key crucial saves at 0-0. Leeds with the better chances. Fulham away 2-0. Good second half, but completely not at the races first half. Perhaps injuries to blame there. A 1-1 draw against Man City, where Man City should have won 4-0, probably 4-1. Just absolutely inexcusable finishing and freaks from Haaland there. And then West Ham 4-0. It's 0-0 at 70th minute. Forest collapse 4-0. I don't see an upwards trajectory at all for Forest at the moment. I see them riding their luck, and I, as a Forest fan, won't be backing them this weekend. I don't rate Everton either. I think this will be an absolutely horrendous game, and it's going to be decided on a mistake, or, as I mentioned, like a wonder goal from Brennan Johnson or something like that. I'd be shooting for a draw, maybe 3.15, perhaps even 0-0. I don't see Everton wanting to do anything other than avoid defeat, and I don't think Forest have been playing well enough over the last 6 games or so.
Yep, completely fair. It's hard to disagree with any of your analysis there. But yeah, maybe in my pick, heart rules overhead. But yeah, we'll see. Finally, then we've got Liverpool against Manchester United on Sunday. 2.54 for Liverpool, 3.75 for the draw, and 2.88 for Manchester United. I'm intrigued to hear what your thoughts on this one are. Something that we could potentially factor into this one, and surely it's going to become a factor at some point. The rate of games on the amount of games that Manchester United are playing at the moment. I was just looking that they've been playing a game every 3 or 4 days since the start of February. Um, in the same period of time, Man U have played 9 games, Liverpool played 6 games. Manchester United also, after this game, will maybe have half an eye on their Europa League match against Real Betis. Um, I just don't know. Is it all going to catch up to Man U at some point, or is momentum just going to keep driving them on? I was not sure where to go with this game in terms of teams to win on the nose. I was thinking more along maybe a goals angle.
I'm in on Man U.
Yeah.
Yeah, you raise a really good point that I hadn't thought about the amount of games. It's interesting. I wonder how many times Klopp would have come out and complained and moaned and used it as an excuse. But Ten
Mm.
Hag just seems to get on with it and just seems to get him and his team have their head down. They don't mention anything in the media, and if you don't mention it in the media, it slips by. Like I hadn't even thought about that. Um, so I think, not being an insider on the Man U camp, I think Ten Hag is just going to keep going, keep the team focused, keep them motivated, not give them an excuse. Kind of like Steve Cooper, Tom, with all the injuries. He
Mm.
doesn't want to talk about it. It's not an excuse that he wants his players to use. Liverpool, yeah, they've been a bit better at home in the Premier League, but let's be honest, a 0-0 draw with a terrible Chelsea, a 2-0 win over Everton. Everton were absolutely pathetic in that game. A 2-0 win against Wolves, who we just mentioned have dropped off a bit, and a humiliating defeat to Real Madrid. Um, Man United aren't Real Madrid, but I don't think they're that far off. It's a high caliber of opponent that Liverpool have, and even though they've only lost one game at Anfield this season, I'm backing United here. I just don't see any reason why anyone would back Liverpool unless they're a fan and they're invested in some way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Another thing to consider: Man U have played 15 games this calendar year. They've scored at least 2 goals in 14 of those 15 games. So maybe if you're not confident enough putting Manchester United to win on the nose, you could go Manchester United over 1.5 goals, something like that.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah,
I guess that brings a high scoring draw into play as well for you. So yeah, I think I might go that way personally.
yeah.
But
I think that's smart.
yeah, I could completely see Manchester United winning, like you say. Okay, final game then to talk through in the Premier League comes on Monday. Brentford against Fulham. Brentford priced at 2.06, 3.85 for the draw, and 3.9 for Fulham. How do you think this one's going to go?
I mean, I think I'm going to enjoy it. West London derby. Both teams to score is what I've got wrote down here. I wasn't surprised to see that it was 1.78, to be honest with you. I had a feeling that the bookies would agree. Do you know what? Actually, if you kind of betting on sequences, then in the last 6 games, there's actually only been one game for Fulham and 2 games for Brentford that have been both teams to score.
Hmm.
But I'm actually looking at the overs market as well in terms of research for both teams to score. So 64% of Fulham's games this season have been over 2.5, and Brentford are looking at 52.17. I just think with the players that are going to be on the field, the performance of Tony and Mitrovic is dropping off a little bit. But obviously, he's still had a great season. Manos Solomon has kind of come to the fore a little bit. So, yeah, this is ninth against seventh. This is 2 teams more than capable of hitting the back of the net. And it should be an entertaining one, I think.
Yep, Agreed. Right, let's just have a moment to talk about Matchbook again and how you can get that sign up offer, and then we'll go through the Championship, League One, League Two, picking out our highlights from each division.
Yeah, we're really grateful to Matchbook for their continued support of the pod. They've got an exclusive sign-up offer available, and it's a £30 back as a free bet if your first bet loses. So if you do fancy a hit on Man United, for example, at the price that they're listed at this weekend, and you want a bit of security, open a new account with Matchbook. Use the promotional code TFB Podcast, as in the football betting podcast. You stick your money on Man U at a decent price. If it wins, great. If it doesn't win, then you'll get that back as a free bet to reinvest into something else. So obviously the entire show and the offer is at over 18s only, and we ask you to gamble responsibly. But of course, you'll need that promo code if you want to move forward, if you're in a position to do so. TFB Podcast.
Cool. Yeah, please do check that out. Okay, so Championship then. Let's get started with our favourite league. I
Hmm.
say sarcastically in English football. Always a tough fixture list and set of fixtures I tend to find in the Championship. This
Yeah.
week, not particularly any different aside from a couple of standouts. Um, I'll get started with Middlesbrough at home to Reading. They are the shortest price Championship team this weekend, so I'm not going to spend too long on it. They're 1.46 to win at home to Reading. This is a Reading side who are like night and day, home and away. At home, they've actually got the fourth best record in the division. Away from home, the 23rd best, so the second worst in the league. They've won just 3 of their 17 games on the road this season. Middlesbrough, though, at home, very, very tough to beat. They've won 6 consecutive games at home, unbeaten in 8, haven't lost at home since they lost to Blackburn on the 15th of October. So, yeah, they're in a very good run of form at home, beating some decent sides along the way in that run. And I expect nothing less than a fairly steady win this weekend. I'd probably say you could probably go on the handicap -1 here as well for Middlesbrough.
Yep. Aligned. Let's talk about Luton. They're playing Swansea at Kenilworth Road. Uh, if you kind of just had a look at Luton's last 6 games, you'd see they've only won one. But I think if we dig a bit deeper, we'll find some enough form and enough results to go off here. So a 2-2 draw at home last time out against Millwall. I'm okay with that. Millwall, top 6 rival, good side. They beat Birmingham away. They lost at home to Burnley. Not a problem. Drew away at Preston and Coventry. I think that's absolutely fine. And then they beat Stoke and Cardiff consecutively in the league at home to 0. I see Swansea as a similar proposition to kind of Stoke and Cardiff. It's not been a good season for Swansea, and I don't think it's going to end in any kind of celebration, to be honest with you. And then, having a look at them on the road, it's no wins in their last 3, a draw away at a poor QPR side, a thumping 3-0 by Sheffield United, and a 1-0 defeat against Blackburn. At home, they've hardly been impressive either. The last 2 have been at home. 1-1 with Rotherham, and what's more alarming for me, a 3-1 defeat to Stoke City, who I think if Stoke are scoring 3 past you and beating you on your own patch, you should be highly concerned, I think.
Yeah, well,
Oh, and I didn't
Swansea.
read out the price. Sorry, they're priced at 2.04. My bad.
um, yeah, Swansea for me, by far and away in the Championship, the team that has failed to live up to my expectations and disappointed me the most this season.
Yeah,
They've been
agreed.
crap compared to what I thought they were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just guess how long do they give the Russell Martin project before he goes? I
Yeah.
don't particularly follow Swansea that closely. I don't look at their timeline or anything that closely, or the forums, or whatever. But yeah, surely patience has got to be wearing thin because they're not really showing any signs of progression whatsoever.
Mm. I think there's problems with the recruitment as well in there. So I think he's got his hands tied a bit. So I think the problems run a bit deeper.
Okay. Up next, then, another obvious one here. Burnley against Blackpool. Burnley 1.6 for the victory. Yeah, the title procession marches on, really, for Burnley, doesn't it? Best away record in the league. No losses in 14 consecutive games away from home. In the Championship, they've won 5 of the last 6. The only draw coming away to Millwall in their last away game. I also expect more of the same for Burnley. Doesn't really need too much saying on this one, really, does it? They're in fantastic form. They don't look like losing, particularly. They always seem to find a way, as we saw in the FA Cup against a really dogged Fleetwood side on Wednesday night. The 90th minute winner for Burnley there against a tough to beat, hard to break down 10-man Fleetwood. I expect the same again. Blackpool are a side who just generally are struggling. Despite Mick McCarthy coming in, the results haven't massively picked up. They've got just one win in their last 8 games. So yeah, for me, Burnley to get another routine victory.
Yeah, I think it's a standout, isn't it, in the league? Um, Blackpool priced at 6.1. I think that tells you everything that you need to know. Okay, I'm going to have a look at Rotherham, Tom. Rotherham are at home against QPR. Obviously, Gareth Ainsworth coming in. I'm not going to give him too much kind of blame for losing his first game at home 3-1 against Blackburn. Blackburn, probably the luckiest team I've ever known in my entire life. And again, wonder goals and fluky ricochets going in at one end. And Gareth Ainsworth came out after and said he had 2 training sessions and kind of called for a bit of patience. And I think he will be good, but I just think Rotherham is not really where you want to go. I don't think when you're trying to, get to grips with things. They've been pretty good at home recently, Rotherham. Better than I kind of gave them credit for. So I'm going to read out a couple of recent results, and they're not incredible, but I think they're enough. So a 2-2 draw with Stoke, sure, fine, whatever. A 4-0 win against Blackburn, obviously that leaps off the page. A 0-0 draw with Sheffield United, yep, good. A 2-0 loss to Coventry, Coventry well in the groove at that time, and a 2-1 win over Sunderland. So it's a tough place. It really is to go, the New York Stadium at the moment. So we've got 2 angles here. If you want it as an accumulator kind of booster, 1.51 is the double chance. They're 2.9 on the nose. I recommend both.
Yep, I can see it. Consider that one myself. Just one more from me. It's not as such a tip. It's more of like quite a big outsider price that I just wanted to touch upon.
Ooh, spicy.
Preston, yeah, Preston away at Watford. Preston are 4.9 for the win. I feel like Watford are an extremely unreliable team to be backing at under evens. They're 1.86 this weekend. And their home record kind of reflects that. They've won 2 of their last 6 home games. Across the Championship, home and away, they've won just 2 of their last 8. So yeah, I don't think Preston are that bad a side that they should be 4.9 outsiders, considering again how patchy Watford's form is. Preston, away from home, 3 wins in the last 6 games, 2 defeats in that run. They've got one of the best away records in the league of Preston. It's the 4th best. They've won 50% of their away games this season, 8 out of 16. So yeah, even though Preston's form they're not on a mad winning run or anything like that. I think this game's a bit more even than the odds maybe suggest here.
Kind of funny that we said, "Oh, here's the Championship." We never have any tips. We've read out about half the league, so I'm going to do that again here. Same as Rotherham, exact same. So I got a double chance and on the nose. It's Wigan against Birmingham, so up the ticks. So we are going for 1.33 Wigan double chance. That's a horrible price, to be honest, but might pad your acca a bit. 2.4 for on the nose, which is what I'm interested in. Wigan under Sean Maloney, really building something, building from the back. It's been good to see, to be honest with you. Since he's taken over, these have been your results: 0-0 against Blackburn away, 1-0 against Huddersfield at home, win. 1-1 away at Bristol City. They're in the groove at the moment. Good with that. 0-0 against Norwich at home. Good with that. And lost 2-1 against Preston away. That's fine. Birmingham spiralling out of control on and off the pitch after a really good kind of 2022. They're now slipped all the way down to 19th when there was murmurings of a playoff berth at one stage. Not from me, but from other people. So like the look of Wigan to avoid defeat, just like I said with Rotherham.
Yep. Okay, can see that one for sure. League One then, unless you've got any more to go through in the Championship.
No. Let's not water down the quality.
Right. Sheffield Wednesday for me are the first one that I fancy in League One. 1.74 for the league leaders to get a victory at home to Peterborough this weekend. Wednesday have lost just one of their 17 games at home this season. They scored 40 goals as well in the process. It's the division high in terms of goals scored at home. They're just on a fantastic run. You know, if you look at Sheffield Wednesday's recent run of matches, and by recent I mean almost all season. I'm looking here in front of me back till October, and I can see I can see 9 wins and 2 draws in their 11 league home games. You know, they're on a fantastic run, 6 consecutive wins in a row. Prior to their last home game, when they beat MK Dons 5-2, they had kept 6 consecutive home clean sheets as well. So yeah, it's just a really formidable, tough place to go. And as good as Peterborough's 5-2 win against Plymouth was the other weekend, I just think this is going to be a step too far for Peterborough. They're still a very hit and miss side, much better at home than they are away from home as well. So yeah, Sheffield Wednesday should get a fairly routine win, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, we can't be going trusting Peterborough after one result.
No.
In terms of trust, Tom, my trust is not broken in Plymouth Argyle. 1.86 is the price. They're against Charlton. I appreciate they've dropped off a little bit. I understand that. That's okay. They've still won 14, drew 1 and lost 1 at home. And they haven't lost in any of the last 8 at home. And Charlton, well, they have scored 1 goal in their last 4 games. They drew 0-0 to Peterborough. That's fine. Lost against Sheffield Wednesday 1-0. Lost against Derby. Like, they're losing against these tough teams, which obviously Plymouth are. I'm not worried that Plymouth are coming off the back of that big thumping by Peterborough. They've still got the best home record in the league. 3 points better off than Sheffield Wednesday, having played a game less. 3 points better off than Bolton in third, having played 2 games less. So formidable place. That's not going to change. Charlton, the perfect opponents.
Yep, I like it. Another one for me, it's short though. 1.58 Derby to win at home to Shrewsbury. Yeah, it's a bit too short for me, this one, but I do think they'll win. They've won 7 of the last 8 home games in the league. That one that they did was a draw against Lincoln, and they had last minute goal disallowed, hit the bar. You know, they could easily have won that on another day. So you could have been looking at 8 consecutive league wins at home there. I think they'll get another comfortable win against the Shrewsbury side, who, yes, they're doing quite well, but away from home, their form kind of comes unstuck a little bit. They've lost their last away game against Accrington 1-0, which is a bad result. Before that, drew 0-0 against Exeter. And then the 2 away games before that, narrow 1-0 wins against the struggling Oxford side and the struggling MK Dons side. So I think Shrewsbury are very much a home side. Derby, likewise. I think, it should be a comfortable win, probably to 0 for Derby this weekend.
We're back in Barnsley. 2.12 away at Bristol Rovers. Bristol Rovers has stopped the rot. They won their first game in, I think it was 7, 8, 8 games. They managed to get a 3-0 win away at Oxford. Backed them as well at 3-1 at the early kickoff, which was nice. But I'm about to stick the knife into them here. And Oxford are an absolute circus at the moment. And I don't think by going there and beating them, all of a sudden Bristol Rovers are good again. Like I don't buy that at all. And then I have a look at Barnsley, who are one of the best teams in the league for sure, and over the last 8 games statistically. Um, Bristol Rovers have played 4 home games in a row without winning. Barnsley haven't lost in any of their last 7, winning 4 consecutively. I feel like not many people are talking about Barnsley. Maybe it's because they're in 6th and you're not allowed to talk about Barnsley being good. I don't really get it. Everyone talks about Derby, but Barnsley have 4 games in hand on Bolton, who are in 4th, and there's only a 3-point gap. So the rate they're going, if they continue to put the pressure on, they've got 2 games in hand on Plymouth, and they're only 9 points off Plymouth. Like, Barnsley are serious contenders for automatic promotion or promotion through the playoffs. I'm a big believer in what they're doing at the moment, and they've got the second best record in the league over the last 8 games. So, yeah, we will be back in Barnsley at 2.12.
Cool. Just one more for me. It's not anything that we've actually read out on the pod, I don't think, this season. And I'm surprised we haven't before now. It's Lincoln against Oxford, and it's a game to be a draw. 3.2 is the price for draw.
Actually, yeah, I'm surprised you haven't come up with
Yeah,
this earlier.
this is usually the thing I'd be all over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lincoln have drawn 13 of their 16 home games this season. It's a phenomenal record. 81% of their home games this season have ended in a draw. So, you know, sticking with the trend, for something that's happened 81% of the time, to get odds of over 2-1, I think is really good value here. Yeah, they play Oxford. Oxford had just sacked Carl Robinson, so maybe the danger is new manager bounce or no Carl Robinson bounce, because they've been pretty poor under him. But yeah, Lincoln just seem to churn out draw after draw after draw. They've got the second best defense at home in the league. They've only conceded 11 goals at home this season, which is a better record than Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday, Derby, Ipswich, all those teams at the top of the league aside from Bolton. So yeah, draw for me here again, 3.2.
Yeah, ready to move into League 2 if you are, mate.
Yep, let's go for it. For a league that we usually tend to squeeze quite a few from, there's not an awful lot for me this weekend.
No, not much juice in the lemon, is there?
No. Get us kicked off.
Okay. I'm going to go for Stevenage. I know we both like Stevenage this weekend. Yeah, we're backing them, even though they have won 1 in their last 7, which was their last time out, a 3-2 win away at Wimbledon. Basically, I just think if this game is played 10 times, I think Stevenage win 9 of them at least. Rochdale haven't won their last 9 games. So talking about the worst team in the EFL. They've lost 12 of 15, 17 at home. They're winning just 2. And Stevenage have won 5, drew 8, and lost just 3 on the road. So we're looking for them to notch again for us. They're obviously, even though they are going through a bit of a bad spell, they're still in second, which I think just goes to show, they had the points on the board already to kind of give themselves a bit of a platform. Yeah, I can't see a Steve Evans side going through a bad run for too long at this level anyway. So yeah, I'm basically leaning on the fact that Rochdale have been so bad and Stevenage have been so good in the season overall that, going with the probability that Stevenage should go there and get the job done 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
I'm not very good at reading out the prices. I forgot again. It's like it's my first day at work. 1.79.
Yeah, that is the important bit.
Yeah, sorry, 1.79 for Stevenage.
um, yeah, I'm going to look at so I'm going to look at Carlisle at home to Grimsby. Carlisle are priced at 1.8 for the victory. Um, I feel like travel could be a big factor into this one. Grimsby are off the back of the 2-1 victory in the FA Cup, as we've mentioned, away at Southampton. Fantastic result for them. However, if we consider that Grimsby had to travel down to Southampton on probably on the Tuesday, 4.5 hours drive. They're probably going to come back tonight or tomorrow. That's another 4.5 hours drive. Then they've got to go to Carlisle, which is a 3.5 hour drive. You know, they're getting all over the country in the space of about 4 days. I feel like it probably could take their toll. I often find that when lower league teams, and this is a little theory of mine, when they have a big result in a cup game against a higher division team, mainly like a Premier League giant killing or a Championship giant killing, they come back down to earth in their respective division the following match. So yeah, they go up against a Carlisle side this weekend who are flying high again. Scored 5 last weekend against Crawley. Beat Colchester at home 1-0 before that. I think this is going to be a slog at the end of the week for Grimsby. They're not going to go down. They're not going to go up. They've got an FA Cup quarter final to look forward to. I think that's the aim for them this season. Now that's what it's all focused on, and Carlisle will take advantage of that.
Absolutely. This week, for me, signifies the start of not on the beach,
Oh.
not on the beach, but starting to think about what they're going to pack. Starting to Google a couple of nightclubs, starting to Google things to do in Malaga or Magaluf or wherever footballers go, Dubai. Maybe not in League Two, I don't know. But anyway, I think they're holiday planning, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, Grimsby, as you mentioned, safe, not going down, and got the big FA Cup quarter final. At least they've got something to fight for. Crew Alexandra, I mean, bloody hell. What a boring old season it's been to be a Crew fan. My God. They are safe. They are 17th. They've drawn 14 games of their 32. Nearly half the games they've drawn. So that's why they find themselves in 17th. And I think they're planning things to do and thinking about their outfits and Googling nice restaurants for their ladies and stuff. And, Tom, they are playing away at the third hardest venue. And I couldn't believe this when I had a look. So I'm going to read out the top 4 and I'm going to miss third. Leyton Orient, best record. Stevenage, blank. Carlisle. Without looking, can you quickly stab a guess at who is in third?
Stockport?
No, they're in fourth. Fifth. So respect. They're close. It's actually Sutton.
Wow.
Sutton United. They are in ninth. Another team who nobody is talking about, including us, for promotion, but they're only 3 points out from Salford in a playoff spot with a game in hand. So I'm thinking Sutton got something to strive for against Crew, who are planning on where to take their girlfriends for dinner. I mean, this is a huge, huge kind of preview for a game that's 1.63, but but we're gonna roll with it because I can't undo what I've said. And Sutton 1.63.
I like it. There's some horrendously short teams in League Two.
Shocking, absolutely.
I'm just looking down the list of like home sides. There's not many that are above evens. The majority are below evens. You know, Bradford, Carlisle, Leyton Orient, Northampton, Stockport, Sutton, Tranmere, even. Bloody hell.
And they're not all going to win. This is League Two. They're not all going to win.
No, definitely. So could be some gems at big prices if you can pick them. I've not really got any more, to be honest. I really like.
Right, I just want to mention one thing. I want to give a shout out on Twitter to @playmaker_en. Playmaker Stats. They tweeted the other. I nearly fell off my chair that Bradford had conceded the fewest goals in open play, just 12 conceded. So I quote tweeted and said, "Well, they must concede at every set piece then, because they're crap, basically." And they got back to me and they said they've conceded 29 goals this season, Bradford, 12 from open play, 16 from set pieces, and one penalty. And if that doesn't underline why they're so untrustworthy, I don't know what will.
Yeah,
Rubbish.
100%.
Right,
100%.
let's move on. Well, let's look back before we move forward. Last week's treble, a bit of an agonizer, really, because it was a 9.12 and it came bloody close. Burnley beat Huddersfield 4-0 at home, absolutely no problem. Bolton got it done for us against Port Vale. They won 2-1. But Stockport, who we had away at Barrow, lost 1-0. So just the one leg that let us down, which sucked. But we're feeling good about this week's. So Tom can read it out.
Yeah. So this week's treble, we're going to go for Burnley to win away at Blackpool, Middlesbrough to win at home to Reading, and Stevenage to win away at Rochdale. So that treble pays 4.4 with matchbooks. So £10 example stake would return you, £44.
Lovely. So yeah, please get involved. Send us in your bet slips, whether you're backing what we're backing or not. Twitter is the best place to interact with us. T_FB podcast. I know I mentioned I had a bit of a weekend off from content, but it's coming back. So please enjoy what we've got to offer on that platform. And Tom, we'll go into fancy football, and you're not going to believe this.
Go on.
So the league average this week was 39.
Mm-hmm.
I got 77.
Ooh.
And I went down.
Crikey. I got 71, and I've gone down.
I'm sick of it. Absolutely sick of it.
Yeah, because I was looking at people at the top of the league just earlier before we came on air, and they've got like in the hundreds. These people, man.
Wow.
Crazy. I hate this game. It's crap.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it. But yeah, do you want to read out top 10?
Yeah, so top 10 from 10 to 1, we've got Bill Bowles, Kenneth Maher, Danny Whiteman, David Arias, Neil McCloy, Tola AW, Dan Pinsker, Chris Postings, Johan Ekstrom, and Pat Ravenhall. Pat's still top of the league, still stretching his lead. He's on 1,687 points. It's a lead of 70 points at time of recording.
Do you know Pat? So the highest points recorded anywhere in the game this week was 106. You know, Pat got 104.
Did he?
Yeah, so he was nearly like the best in the world this week.
Hell.
Respect.
That's a strong effort from Pat.
Yeah, very strong effort. And yeah, you can join our league if you want to go head to head with Pat. Get at us on Twitter. Again, it's T_FB podcast. You can get the league code and you can join at your rightful spot as long as you've currently got a fancy football team with the official Prem app.
Really appreciate it if you could leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And yeah, thanks for listening to the show, guys. We'll be back as ever, same time again next week. But yeah, good luck for the weekend. Let us know on social media what bets you've got on. If you get any winners, we love to see them. So yeah, good luck for the weekend. See you then.